Tampa, however, Republicans taking aim at President Obama's record on issues overseas. Virginia Republican Congressman Randy Forbes, a member of the House Armed Services Committee, with me to talk about that. And good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill.
Welcome to Tampa here. What do you want to hear about this when it comes to foreign policy?
Well,
where do
Bill,
you think this White House is weak?
Well, I don't think they've had a coherent foreign policy with much clarity at all. If you look at our greatest ally in the Middle East, it's Israel, and this is a president that has not been very clear in our support for Israel, hasn't even visited Israel. If you look at what we've done, for example, with the Russians, he tried to appease the Russians by pulling off our missile defense systems in Europe. And what does he get? He gets rewarded by the Russians spending $720 billion to bring on a fleet of new aircraft that will all be designed against the United States. If you look at what he's done in Libya and Syria, there's no coherence between the two of those. And so what we believe, if you look across from when this president came into today, tell me a hot spot that hasn't gotten worse than when he came into office.
But Mitt Romney's talking about that today. But really, the issue has been the economy and jobs. And I do believe that's going to be the major part of Paul Ryan's address tonight when it comes to the budget and spending, right?
Bill,
So where does this argument fit in?
Well, Bill, there's no question but that the number one issue in people's minds in this election is going to be the economy and jobs. But this is a multifaceted campaign. You're going to look at foreign policy. You're going to look at how we create jobs, what we do with energy. All of that we think is very important for the next president of the United States. And it's something that this administration just hasn't had a very good record on.
You think pink slips could be a matter of weeks away for members of the military?
No question, Bill. This administration's cut $800 billion out of defense in the last 2 years, getting ready to cut another $500 billion out if they allow sequestration to go through. When the president visited Virginia, he brought a huge box of pink slips with him that he's distributing to individuals because the Secretary of Defense says this is going to cost 1.5 million jobs across the country. The aerospace industry study says it'll be 2.1 million. A lot of job losses if we don't turn this around.
Do you think Washington backs out of that deal before the end of the year?
Well, I think they should. As you know,
resolution?
Well, I don't know. The president said he'll veto anything that we try to do. As you know, the House has already put a solution up that will turn back these defense cuts without increasing taxes, but the Senate has refused to bring anything up, and the president says he'll veto it. I think the only way we get out of it is have a new president.
Well, what explains this then? Wall Street Journal polling, 54% of voters approve of the way Mr. Obama handles foreign policy.
Well, I think one of the reasons is that the only thing they've focused on is the war on terror and what they have seen at this particular point in time. I think when they look at the overall picture of what this administration has done on foreign policy, I think that's going to be a huge difference. And I think Mitt Romney begins to lay that out today in his speech that he gives.
So that is today. But this will come up in debates.
No question.
For certain.
And it should come up in a debate because it's a vision of where the United States goes in the future. Economy, jobs, number one issue, no question. But we need to talk about what we're going to do with foreign policy. And foreign policy, the key is two things. You've got to have clarity. This administration's not had it. But secondly, you've got to have a defense that's able to back up your foreign policy. And this administration's not moved in that direction.
And on foreign policy, you know, the economy can dribble away or it can come back. But it's a process and it takes time. Foreign policy can change in an instant.
It can change in 24 hours. And Bill, I can tell you, one of the things that their foreign policy has done is it's made our allies question whether we're going to be there for them. And it's encouraged some of those who may not be our allies to spend a lot more building up their defenses that they would not have done if we weren't shrinking ours.
We'll look for the theme today, and we'll pick up on it with our other folks, too. Randy Forbes, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Bill. It's always great to be with you.
Today, 13 electoral votes in your state.
Going to be huge.
You know it's important.
That's right.
Thank you. Back to Martha now. Martha?
All right. Well, New Jersey's governor delivered the keynote address last night at the RNC. He did not